All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are talking Indiana Hoosiers football. You know, after that magical, unbelievable season in 2024, the big question is, can they possibly do it again? So we're going to break down their first 4 games of the 2025 season and figure out if a perfect 4-0 start is really in the cards. Let's get into it. You know, to really get what's on the line here, you've got to look at where they just came from versus where they're headed. I mean, 2024 it was the peak of the mountain. An 11-1 record, a trip to the college football playoff, a quarterback in the Heisman conversation. But 2025? It's a whole different story. You've got a new guy under center, Cal transfer Fernando Mendoza, a ton of new faces on the roster, and of course, that massive pressure to prove last year wasn't just some beautiful one-time fluke. And what a run it was. Seriously, under Coach Cignetti, the Hoosiers didn't just win games, they absolutely shattered expectations. That 11-1 record, that was a program high. They earned a kind of national respect that, let's be honest, Bloomington hasn't seen in a long, long time. They went from being just another team to a genuine powerhouse. Which brings us to this idea of the encore performance. It's probably one of the hardest things to pull off in all of sports, right? Suddenly the expectations are through the roof. Every single team has you circled on their schedule, and the pressure is on to show everyone that greatness is the new normal, not just a flash in the pan. And that is the exact challenge staring Indiana right in the face in 2025. So how do they kick off this encore? Well, with a 3-game homestand against non-conference teams. And look, this isn't just about chalking up wins. This is an absolutely critical time for this new-look roster, and especially for their quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, to build that chemistry and really get the offense firing on all cylinders before the real tests begin. Let's just be blunt for a second about these first 3 opponents. They really struggled in 2024. Old Dominion could barely score, putting up less than 23 points a game. Kennesaw State, even worse, at just over 17 points. And Indiana State's defense was giving up over 31 points every single game. For a team with Indiana's talent, these look less like real games and more like, well, paid scrimmages. And this really gets to the core of it. The goal in these first 3 weeks isn't just to win. It's all about how they win. This is about their own execution. It's about getting Mendoza in sync with receivers like Elijah Sarrett and Omar Cooper Jr., and making sure that defense is absolutely locked in from the first snap. The team on the other side of the field, they're almost secondary. Now let's jump to week 4, because this is where the preseason party ends and the real season starts. A road trip to Illinois. This right here is the first legitimate hurdle. It's the first time this 2025 team is going to face some real adversity, and it's a huge test of whether or not they're actually ready to compete in the Big Ten. When you look at it on paper, this is a pretty fascinating matchup. For Indiana, you've got Mendoza's big arm and what was a truly elite run defense last year. But for Illinois, they've got that huge home field advantage. And you know any team coached by Bret Bielema is going to play tough, physical, smash-mouth football. It's a classic strength-on-strength battle. But here's where it gets really interesting. The defensive stats from 2024 tell a story. Illinois gave up about 22.5 points per game. Pretty respectable. But Indiana? They were on another planet, allowing a ridiculously low 15.7. Now, if Indiana's defense can travel and bring that same energy on the road, that could be the single biggest factor in this entire game.
So it all boils down to this, right? In the first real dogfight of the season, with a hostile crowd going crazy, who's going to land the punch that matters?
All right, here's our bold prediction, and I'm going to call this a controversial take. Indiana pulls off the upset. Now, Vegas will probably have Illinois as a small favorite since they're at home, but we're calling it 27-24 Hoosiers win. We think Mendoza's passing game, paired with a run defense that can shut down Illinois' whole identity, is going to be just enough to quiet that crowd and steal a massive win on the road. So, when you put all the pieces together, you can see the path. It's right there. The Hoosiers handle their business in the early tune-ups, they get their sea legs, and then they go out and pass their first major test. That's how you build a foundation for the season. So let's just trace that path one more time to 4-0. Week 1, they cruise past Old Dominion. Week 2, they take care of Kennesaw State. Week 3, they handle business against Indiana State. But the key, the one that really matters, is that 4th win, a tough, gritty, signature victory on the road against Illinois. And that leaves them right here, 4 and For a team desperately trying to prove that last season was the new standard, this kind of perfect start is absolutely everything. It builds incredible confidence, it creates real momentum, and it sends a loud and clear message to the rest of the Big Ten that the Hoosiers are still here.
So a 4-0 start would be the perfect opening act. Couldn't ask for better. But it begs the real question, doesn't it? They got through the appetizers, but can they possibly survive the absolute gauntlet that is the heart of their Big Ten schedule? Well, that's a question for another explainer.